Okay, good morning. Welcome to
Minute Math number 10.
Minute Math number 10. So these are problems that the Mathematical Association of America is publishing from old math contests. And these are high school math contests mostly. So these can be pretty tricky problems. And this one actually only about 20% of the people got it right. So this is kind of a sneaky little problem. All right?
Yep.
A rectangle with diagonal of length x is twice as long as it is wide. What is the area of the rectangle in terms of x? Okay, so when you see a geometry problem like this, what's a good thing to do?
Draw a picture.
Yeah, okay, why don't you draw the picture based on what they told you in the problem here?
But rectangles don't have diagonals.
What?
Well, you could draw.
Rectangles have diagonals. In fact, rectangles have two diagonals. Go ahead and draw. What did it say about the rectangle?
It says it's twice as long as it is wide.
Yeah, does that look like it's twice as long as it is wide? Okay, so go ahead, draw a rectangle that you think matches the description in this picture. Okay, yeah, that's good. Very good. Very good. It's twice as long as it is wide. And what is a diagonal in a rectangle?
This part.
No, that's the length, or the width.
This is the length.
Yeah. So what's the diagonal? Do you know what a diagonal is?
It's like a slanty line.
Yeah, so where does it go? What is a diagonal in a rectangle? You know? It's this.
And then the other one's that.
Yeah. Diagonals connect corners or vertexes that are not already connected to other ones. So that's a diagonal. So this is what has length x. And we know this is twice as long as it is wide. And so we have a right triangle here, and we know what the hypotenuse is. So what theorem do you think we're going to be using here?
The Pythagorean Theorem.
No, the Pythagorean Theorem, yeah. So we're going to say its width is y. Can I use your marker? I'm losing the marker here. The width is y. Normally we would call the unknowns x, but we already used x. And the length is twice the width, 2y. Right?
Yep.
Okay, and what is the area of a rectangle? How do you compute the area of a rectangle?
Well, the area of a rectangle, it's length times width.
Right, so the area of our rectangle is 2y squared. In other words, 2y times y. But it wants it in terms of x. So the only way to get y in terms of x is to use the Pythagorean theorem. So the Pythagorean theorem tells us that a squared plus b squared equals c squared, right? Right?
Yep.
So 2y squared plus y squared is x squared. Or 4y squared plus y squared is x squared. And what is 4y squared plus y squared equal to?
5y squared.
5y squared equals x squared. So y squared equals x squared over 5. And then we're going to say that y equals x. I take the square root of both sides. Y equals x divided by the square root of 5. Okay? So we just figured out what y was in terms of x. Well, that's good news, because now I can just write my rectangle that this is y and 2y now becomes x over the square root of 5 and 2x over the square root of 5. And now I want to take the area. So I'm going to have to multiply 2x divided by the square root of 5 times x divided by the square root of 5. Okay? Do you think you know how to do this multiplication?
A little tricky.
It's a little tricky. Well, let's do the top first. What is 2x times x?
2x squared.
2x squared. And what is the square root of 5 times the square root of 5?
It's 5.
5. So there we go. So we started with an interesting description that we had to turn into math. And the way we turned it into math was by drawing a picture. So it said a rectangle with diagonal of length x is twice as long as it is wide. So first we drew a rectangle that was twice as long as it was wide, and we drew the diagonal, and the diagonal connects the opposite corners in a rectangle. And we said that had length x. What did we do next?
Well, then we figured out y in terms of x.
Okay, and how did we figure out y in terms of x? What did we do?
We used the Pythagorean theorem.
Theorem. Theorem. You have a hard time saying that word.
Yeah.
The Pythagorean
Theorem.
Good job. Okay, the Pythagorean theorem told us that y was x over the square root of 5. And 2y then was just 2x over the square root of 5, and then we multiplied together and we found that the area, length times width, was 2x squared over 5. And that's the answer. So, and only 20% of the people got it right. That is a pretty tricky problem, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you had to draw a picture, you had to use the Pythagorean theorem, and then you had to multiply together, and that gave us the answer. So it's a neat problem. Neat problem. Kind of a tricky problem, but how hard do you think this is between, like, you know, super easy to super, super hard?
I'd say about a 5.
About a 5? Okay. All right, good job. Good job, sweetie.